I'm Tejas Kumar, and I've been building on the web for over 20 years at places like Vercel, Spotify, Zeta, and more. Today, I'm a developer relations engineer at DataStax for Gen AI. I get to work with, study, and research AI, and then teach AI. And today, that's what we're here to do. A big question in the front-end world is about AI and how can we create truly great front-end experiences with AI? Particularly, how do we deal with streaming content that comes in from a model that may not be finished. Previously, when working with AI APIs, we would sometimes just block when we ask a question of, say, ChatGPT, and this isn't the best. So in our time together, this is Front-End Nation, and so this is a front-end talk about how we can build better front-end, that is web UI experiences with AI. We may not need to, we'll look at that maybe if there's time at the end. We'll look at something like MCP and how front end is maybe changing. But for now, let's just get started. So I have here my old school app. It's just a search. And what we can do is start querying stuff. So we can maybe make it say hi, and do we get a reply? We don't. So let's take a look at the code. Well, we've got index.tsx here, and this is the code. And you can see that handle search does nothing. You can see in terms of markup, we've got h1 search, a form with an input and a button, and this is all live. So if I have live reload here. And so our search isn't doing anything. Okay, well, what should it do? Well, we want to talk to some type of API, some type of AI API. We want to get back an AI payload. So this will be implemented on the server side. So let's go to our server. So we'll go to server. Nope. Go to server.ts. And we have a server and it's kind of empty. Let's fix it. So /ask, what do we want? Well, we want to query from the query params. And what do we want to do with this query? Well, we want to get an answer. So we'll say const answer is await OpenAI chat completions create, just like that. And we'll instantiate OpenAI as well. So we'll say const OpenAI is new OpenAI, just like that. So now we're doing this and it looks kind of good. We respond with a JSON payload of answer, and this is our basic server. And now we just have to go fetch this on the client side. So if we do this, we kind of have it, but let's maybe set the answer in state. And then we'll go and like render the answer here. Okay, this is a nice full stack solution that works. Let's go to our terminal and run the server. So we'll npx vite node, and we'll do, I think it's main.ts. And so now, sure, it wants to install vite node. There we go. So the server is running on port 3000. So now if we go back to our browser and reload, this should work. So we'll say, how are you today? And we should, okay, cool. I'm just a computer program, but you saw there was some type of delay there. In fact, the delay scales linearly with the response. And since this is generative, we'll have problems. Like if we go to the network tab, watch this. I'll ask, write an essay about front end. And what we can see is the essay is being written, but the user is kind of just left hanging. This is not good front end experience, right? Like it takes quite a long time. Let's see. Wow, see, it takes a really long time. Imagine this is user experience. Not okay, so there 15 seconds. 15 seconds, delve spotted. This really sucks. And so what's the next best thing for front end here? The next best thing is streaming. So let's look at how we can stream text for better UX instead of doing just like the classic waiting. So to do that, let's go here, and instead of all this, we'll just add stream is true. And now we have no answer choices. So when you say stream is true, the response changes. In fact, this is not an answer, it's a response. So let's do now for await chunk of response. We get back a chunk response. So for each chunk, write them into the response and then end when there's nothing left. So we'll save our new server implementation and we'll go back and restart our dev server. Okay, and then we'll update our client. So res here, the response is it has a body, which is a stream. It's a readable stream. So let's read the stream. What we're doing is we're getting the reader. We create a text decoder because it's a byte stream, aka a stream of bytes, okay? And so it's a byte stream. So then what we do is not this. This is not what we do. We'll create a function called read. And this function does that. It reads from the reader incrementally, and then if we're done, it just exits. If we're not done, we decode the bytes and then set it into state. However, we need to recursively call this. So we call read inside read, and then we call read here to kick it off. It's a recursive process until the stream is empty, and then it just does nothing. It returns, okay? So now if we save this, let's try that again, right? An essay on the history of frontend. And wow, look at that. Incredible. So much better. The time to something happening is faster. This is great. But we don't work with text mostly. Yeah, we work with JSON. Like if you go on literally anything like Amazon, you get a here, let's just amazon.de. What you have is you have a list of products. This like list plus then detail is a common UX pattern. List, see this is a list, and then you click on it, you get a detail page, right? This is how we browse the web. Lists are usually JSON. So how do you deal with streaming JSON for great front end? Well, let's take a look at that. So let's go back to our localhost example, 5173. And let's say, give me 20 kinds of tripods, right? This is not cool. We want JSON. So let's go update our server implementation and let's add a system prompt. So we'll do this. And instead of whatever slop we got, we'll say, you respond only in JSON. Let's try that. And let's go restart our server. And we'll just keep our terminal right here because we're going to need to do this quite often. So we'll restart our server and come back, reload, 20 kinds of cameras. Okay, so it's nice, but we get a JSON snippet. So we'll have to update the system prompt. No backticks. This is not a snippet. It's real JSON. All right, let's save this and go back to our terminal, restart the server, and we'll try again. 20 kinds of chocolate. Okay, that's nicer. The problem is it's a JSON array, right? Where chocolates is the key, and then it's another array with name. It's okay, but this cannot be incrementally parsed because if we get like a chunk up to here, for example, and we try to JSON, look, JSON.parse, and we'll just like an incremental chunk, it fails. This sucks. So what do? Do we try catch and then brute force until it doesn't throw? There's a better way to do this. And maybe instead of a JSON array, we use a format called ND-JSON or new line delimited JSON to delimit by new line. And then when we get a valid line of JSON, then we can easily parse line by line. So let's try that. So let's go to we have it here, nd-json. It's a real nd-json. You use this schema with name string, just like that. Okay. And so now we're asked for nd-json. Let's try this. So we'll go back here and server is running. Let's try 20 kinds of dessert. What do we got? Perfect. So we're getting back this like JSON line by line. That's awesome. Let's go back to the front end and now console log each chunk we get. So we can console.log and we can say got chunk and then the text. So 20 kinds of phones. But you notice the chunks we get, they're not like cohesive JSON. We need one final adjustment to work with incremental JSON, and that is to flush single objects over the network response and not just like random chunks. So to do that, we'll update our server again, and we'll say, before we start iterating, we'll say let obj is just an empty string. And then instead of just writing to the stream, what we can do is we can say, I don't know what AI wants to do. We're not going to do that. We'll first start by assigning this to something. So we'll say const partial is this, okay? And this is how things work. But we can say obj, we can increment this. And if it ends with a new line, because it's new line delimited JSON, then we write it to the response and reset the object. And then we don't do this. Does this make sense? And so now we always only send a valid object at a time. So let's go restart our server. Okay. Come back here. Great. And let's try it now. 20 kinds of islands. Look at that. You see that? Beautiful. We get back an actual chunk that's an actual. And so now that we get back a streamed JSON chunk, instead of just setting the answer as text, we can say items. Set items as an array of strings with name. And then we set items here. And we go back, and instead of a div, we can do a UL and showcase a list. We can fulfill that pattern. So now, check it out. We could do 20 kinds of frameworks, and we get back beautiful. You see that? It crashed at some point because we are trying to parse maybe a wrong character. So we can actually check if there's even a response. We can say if there's no partial, do nothing. I think that was missing. Let's finish this. So now let's try this again and say 20 kinds of JavaScript. I have no idea anyway what's going to happen. But here, it totally works. We get back streamed increment. This is like UX improve. We started waiting for like a whole thing, and now we just get it. Incredible. Okay, but we're only halfway through. What we need to understand is when we use tools like React, Vue, Angular, Svelte, they make use of the DOM. What is the DOM? The document object model. What is document? It's just HTML. But the object model is the document modeled as objects. This is JavaScript objects. And so if the document object model is objects, and this is how we stream an array of objects, then can we stream DOM? Indeed, we can, because you're just now we know how to stream object. And so the Vercel AI SDK does exactly this to stream like actual components, which is nothing more than JSON, to create some really great user experience. In fact, we can just see this on chatgpt.com. Here, let's go to chatgpt.com, chatgpt.com. And what we'll do is we'll say, what's the weather in Berlin? And what we'll see is, this may take a long time because I chose O3. O3 loves to think, but let's see what happens. Okay, you know what? We're not going to do it. I'm going to choose a faster model, and we'll try this again. What's the weather in Berlin? Come on, O4. Berlin. So it's going to perform RAG. It's going to search the web, and then look, it rendered some UI here. That was just JSON. You know how to do that now. To illustrate this, I built an app. I built an app called Movies++. Some of you may have seen this, where if you try to search like a normal human being on a tool like Netflix, you maybe will have a bad time. And that's because Netflix optimizes for keyword search, but not like human search. Like when I want to watch a movie, I want to watch like a movie that's about superheroes, or a movie with a strong female lead, or a movie with large monsters. I don't want to watch like specific names of movies. Often I don't know, and so let's try that. If we go on Netflix right now, and we can honestly just stop the talk here and watch Netflix if that's what we want. But okay, so we're on Netflix and we'll do movies with a strong female lead. Look at that. It's just like try different keyword. That's the best we can do. So I built an app that uses AI and streams in content that does slightly better, and I call it Movies++. Let's take a look. So if we go to localhost 3001, this is what it looks like. Let's try that same prompt, movies with a strong female lead. This is what we get. So it starts to fetch movies, and that Next.js issue is not my application code. Starts to get movies, and at some point, there we go. So we have these, all of them do have strong female leads, but you may have noticed that wasn't streamed, and this is not UI. This is a demo, chill. But like now we can do something. We can say like, what might this look like as UI, And now, look at that. This is just JSON. And so you might be wondering like, how is this possible? We just looked at how this is possible. And so we just render these as elements after receiving JSON. And the cool thing is because of that, we can bind event listeners after we rendered them and so on. But it gets even better. Like show me the trailer for Madam Web, right? We can do anything because it's just JSON. The DOM is just JSON. And so look at it. It's just like totally playing. Where can I watch it? And it will even like open maps and show me the nearest cinema where maybe I can go watch it. So it's so cool because it's just JSON. We looked at how we can stream JSON. Now we can do even better because I don't know about you, but there's been times where I've wanted like customer support. And I find myself going to, I don't know, like some intercom widget and asking for help. And I often get back instructions. But what if we could do better? Like the case where you forgot your password and you get back like, click here, go there, do that, you get instructions. What if we just did this? What if I forgot my password, right? And immediately you have the password reset form, like right here, you know? Can do this. And it's incredible. But while we can do this, I suspect, and there's some talks even here that suggest, like for example, yesterday with Kent, that suggest front end is changing. Suggest front end maybe is different. Okay, what is front end? Well, let's redefine front. It's the end of the application that users interact with. It's your UX layer. It's front end, front, you know? And so we can't ignore the rise of AI. We can't ignore the fact that we have chat interfaces like ChatGPT. We can't ignore that in many cases it's just better. Chat interfaces are just better. Why are they better? Well, they're accessible. Like if somebody is blind, then you can use voice and you can hear. If somebody is deaf, then you can use your eyes and read. If somebody is blind and deaf, then all it takes is one team at OpenAI or Anthropic or one of these chat app vendors to really, really zero in on their accessibility, and a huge amount of the population benefits. This is a significant step up to the way things are in the world today. Today, each front end, each website is determined by a team of developers, designers, and product people, some experts, who are fallible human beings like me, who are likely to make mistakes or ignore certain groups of people, and things are not accessible. Sometimes you have interfaces that are tabs or carousels, but they're not screen reader key. It's just a huge problem. And with the chat interface, honestly, the experience is better. Like if I could today, talk to something like ChatGPT and say, hey, do I have any emails coming up that I need to pay attention to? Hey, what are my meetings for tomorrow? Hey, book me a flight to go to Macedonia in September and attend What the Stack. And I want to spend $300. Zero connection. Like I can, if I could just issue commands, if I could just speak things into existence, I would. I would 100% prefer this to the experience of going and clicking on some website vendor's form and then finding out it doesn't respond to the enter key and like all of this mess. Okay. Thanks to model context protocol and AI, front end is changing. Front end is different, and I'd like to show you that in the last few minutes we have, because I want to invite us to reconsider front end in the age of AI as we get more fluent, as the talk title says, in front end in the age of AI. Okay, and so what I want to do is I want to show you a tool called Langflow. It's open source. We don't sell it. We don't make any money from it, but it's the easiest way to reason about the evolution of front end in an AI era, at least for me. So it's sort of like runnable locally since it's open source and you can host it wherever you want. And so here, how can we host it? Well, it's Docker, so do that. But we can go to local. I'm hosting it locally. Localhost 7860 is where Langflow lives, and of course that's not running, so I need to start it. So we'll Docker run 7860 is the port, 7860, and then 7860 60 Langflow AI / Langflow. That's with this command. Of course, Docker is not running. Okay, sure. Yes, of course. You would think Tejas would prepare for this talk. Anyway, so with this Docker command, you can run Langflow, and when you run Langflow, we can explore what new front end might look like. Okay, so Docker is running. Let's run Langflow here, which I should have. Thank you, Docker desktop. And it's going to come up in just a second. While it does, I'm going to make sure that the rest of my stuff doesn't need to update and cause problems. So this is Claude Desktop. Some of you may be familiar with Claude Desktop. It's just like ChatGPT. Honestly, it's just an app. And I'm just going to clear out all my caches here. Yes, yes, go away. Okay, and this is just like ChatGPT. Hi, how are you better than ChatGPT? You know, and see if it answers. This would be an interesting answer. Pondering. Okay. You can keep pondering. Are we good with Langflow? Cool. Langflow open. So let's now go visit Langflow running on localhost. And here's what we have. It's brand new. There's nothing here. I'm going to make an agent that invites us to rethink front end. So here is, I'm just going to do a blank flow. And I'm going to get an input, which is a chat input, an output, which guess what? It's chat output. I'm making a chat interface because we just talked about how they're better. And in between, I will have an agent just like this. And I'm going to just, input goes here, output goes there. And I'm just going to test that this works. I need an API key. So we'll get my OpenAI API key right here. And let's test that this works. Hi. Okay, cool. It totally works. Now, what I want to do, again, rethinking front end, is create an assistant that can read my emails and maybe manage my calendar. So to do that, I will grab the calendar component here. It's from Composio, which is a great tool. And I'm going to get my API key. I'm going to paste it right there. And I'll do the same for Gmail. And it needs to authenticate with Composio. So I'm just going to zoom back out and I'll paste those two. And right now, authentication's kind of in flight. It's starting to authenticate. Let's go see what Claude said. I'm doing well as for comparisons. Let's say we have different, whatever. Anyway, so sorry, I got distracted. So I'm going to give my calendar as a tool to my agent. So I turn on tool mode, boom, just like that. And here I'll do a similar thing. I'll turn on tool mode and just like that, go here. And I can select what I want the agent to do with my calendar. So I'll say, I want you to be able to create events, to find events, find free slots, get my calendar, quick add events, sure. So now the agent can do all of these things. And I promise this is going somewhere. So now my agent exists. Let's go take a look at my calendar. So this is my calendar right here. Today is the 2nd of June, 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever. And so let's go to the Frontend Nation website, Frontend Nation, and find out what the schedule is. So we'll go to the schedule, and we have a bunch of things. Is the schedule? How do we get the schedule? Is it like over the network? Let's check. Workshops. Oh my goodness. SVG is being served over fetch. Here we go. This is the schedule. It looks like. Let's check if Kent C dots. No. Okay. I guess these are like actually workshops. These are workshops. I'm looking for the schedule like talks because I would love to reconsider the front end here. Is this like server rendered? It's definitely not server rendered. That's the markup. So we are indeed getting the schedule from somewhere here. Let's see. I'm going to refresh one more time real quick. So we get back a bunch of work. I want to know where this data is coming from. Anyway, so let's just do the workshop, Let's do this. Do they have here schedule? There's times 2025, March 31st. Cool. Let's actually do this. Let's create an assistant, a different front end for this workshop UI. Because my thesis is anything that has an API can be expressed with a different front end. That's what I'm trying to say. So let's take this one, June 18th, 2024. There's a workshop. I'm just going to copy this URL. Copy as URL right here. I'm going to go to Langflow and add API request. And we'll add this right there. And we'll copy this URL. Conference.viewschool. Really? Is that just a JSON? Okay, cool. Wow. They have a public JSON endpoint. Nice. And I'm going to parse that data into a string. Parse data, just like this. So we'll take this and we will plug the data from there into this. Now we get back text and we can construct a prompt. And the prompt will be, it will have a variable. Here are some workshops, and we'll create a variable workshops, answer the question, and we'll do input. So now the workshops go to workshops and the input goes to chat input. And then the prompt itself becomes the new input to the agent because it contains workshops. So we can ask questions about workshops. Okay, let's just validate that this works real quick because honestly, I did a bunch of stuff. Let's see. Tell me about June workshops 2025. And so now it should pull that data and answer my question because we just built that. So let's take a quick look. We have some issues. List of data objects is not supported. Well, we want to stringify it. That's okay. Let's try again. So tell me about June 2025 workshops. And so it's getting some, the workshops are for 2024, not 2025. Here are some workshops from 2024. Fine, we have this data, we'll work with it. This looks good. How might we work with this? Well, Langflow supports MCP. So I'm going to publish this as an MCP server. And I'm going to quickly edit this and give it a name and stuff. So I'd be like, get workshop info. Use this tool to learn about workshops and manage a Google Calendar, right? And so now it exposes a model context protocol server, which I can just copy like this and paste in an app like Claude. And again, Claude Desktop is really like ChatGPT. It's just a regular AI app that's also an MCP client. And I'm going to quickly add this here. So I'll come here and just paste my Langflow server. I'll close this, close this, close this. And now if I restart the app, and again, keep in mind, the user interface here is not Langflow. It's not something I wrote. This is like ChatGPT. It's a foreign thing. And it's still a front end. It's just on my front end. You can see that I have my workshop info. So now I'd be like, tell me which workshop to attend in 2024 for databases. In fact, just add it to my calendar. So this is front end, but it's different, right? Because like I'm not browsing the web and I'm not doing any of these things. I'm just talking, right? Front end UI, UX is changing and it's very interesting. Okay, so here we go. I'll help you find workshops and add it to your calendar. So yes, we'll allow the use of this tool that I just added over MCP, and it's searching for workshops. Let's see what it comes up with. I found some great workshops for 2024. Here are your options. Supercharge your full stack. This is June 18th, 2024. And it gave me a bunch of options here. Since we're already past the first workshop, may have already. Let me add the second one to your calendar. So it's already going July 9th, 2024, which let's go to my calendar right now. But back to July 9th, 2024. So let's do year 2024, July 9th. Perfect, I've added it, and let's go check. Here, tracing front-end issues with back-end solutions workshop. This thing just operated my calendar. What? There's a front end that I would have used on the web, but this front end is radically different. It's all front end, but front end is changing. I'll leave the talk here. I realize I'm maybe a minute or so over, but I want to invite you to think. We already looked at how we can create fluent front end for AI today with streaming JSON and creating great UX. But we also need to consider how UX is changing itself and how maybe the website is going away. Maybe we won't click on buttons and navigate pages with questionable accessibility, but we just talk. We just talk. And front end is not even our front end. We just make the APIs and we operate highly accessible, AI-driven conversational front ends. I'll leave that here. I'm happy to take questions and continue the conversation. Thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait to continue talking to you.